Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Seth MacFarlane's putrid palette of predictive programming, Pandemonium. Brought to you by Seth MacFarlane, sleazebag trader who works for the satanic cabal that runs the entertainment industry. He says it's abhorrent when people recognize and point out his sneaky little clues that he inserts into his stupid cartoons, foreshadowing the events manufactured by the same cabal that pays him very well to do so.
Seth MacFarlane has criticized an online hoax clip of his animated series Family Guy, which was edited to make it look like main character Peter Griffin planned explosions at the Boston Marathon. MacFarlane called the clip abhorrent, and the original episode, which aired last month and did depict the main character running people over in his car at the marathon, has been pulled by Fox Broadcasting.
The lamestream media, controlled by the same people, repeats what he says, of course. No one investigates, and people continue to tune into Family Guy and American Dad without realizing they're being brainwashed and programmed to accept the cabal's plans. Let's do the media's job and take a look at the two most recent events he's foreshadowed for his evil masters, the Boston faked bombings and the death of Robin Williams. If a little bit of thought is applied to the seemingly random elements of the cartoon, one can see that we're actually watching a satanic ritual where the names, dates, places, circumstances, and even minuscule details of a future seemingly surprise event are actually planned down to the tiniest detail and shown to us in advance. MacFarlane's cartoons are one of their favorite places to do this. Let's start with Boston. First of all, in the episode entitled Turban Cowboy, which aired on St. Patrick's Day, March 17, 2013, only 29 days before the April 15th Boston Marathon, many details of the cartoon allude to the fake bombings and the official story afterward. At 1 minute and 11 seconds in, the main character's friend mentions that he used to be a horse whisperer, which is interesting because the main character in the movie Horse Whisperer has an accident on her horse and needs to have her leg amputated. I'm sure I don't have to tell you how amputation relates to what supposedly went on in Boston on April 15, 2013. At about 2 minutes and 40 seconds in, Harrison Ford is seen throwing skydivers off of a plane.
Wow, is that Harrison Ford? Yeah, it said in the brochure that he assists with all the jumps. Get off my plane! Get off my plane! Get off my plane!
Just like he throws a Russian terrorist off a plane in the movie Air Force One.
Get off my plane!
Our supposed Boston bombers are from Chechnya, a federal republic of Russia. The main premise of the whole episode is that the main character, Peter Griffin, converts to Islam. One of the supposed Boston terrorists, supposedly the bombing mastermind, was also a convert to Islam. Here's Tamerlan, our Boston bombing patsy Islam convert, right up next to Peter's friend Mahmoud, who gets him to convert to Islam. At 3 minutes and 40 seconds, Peter is seen driving a car down a street, running over marathon participants. There are dead bodies and body parts on the ground and a big swath of red blood trailing behind his car. Though this had never happened before, we would see this same sort of scene on Boylston Street in Boston less than a month later at the marathon. I'm trying to figure out which scene looks more cartoonish. Then Peter is asked by a cartoon Bob Costas how he won the Boston Marathon, just in case there's any doubt as to which race was just depicted.
I'm Bob Costas, here with Boston Marathon winner Peter Griffin. Peter, how did you do it?
I'll tell you, Bob, I just got in my car and drove it. And when there was a guy in my way, I killed him.
At 4 minutes and 20 seconds in, the front of the Quahog Public Library is shown. Remember, the first of the two fake bombs occurred right in front of the Boston Public Library. At around 5 minutes and 38 seconds in, the Family Guy writers find an excuse to throw in a seemingly random reference to a bowl of M&Ms.
Oh my God, look, a bowl of M&Ms. What are we, 6?
Directly across the street from the Boston Public Library is a candy store called Sugar Heaven, part of the staging area for the fake injuries. Not only were there pictures of M&Ms painted on the front window of the store the day of the marathon, along with a handmade M&Ms sign, but a big blue M&M statue stood outside the door right in the staging area. Yes, they planned it down to that amount of detail. Please note that M is the 13th letter of the alphabet. 2 M's equals 26, just like the 26 miles of the marathon and the 26 people supposedly killed in their other false flag, Sandy hoax. Peter ends up in the hospital due to a skydiving accident and meets a Muslim man named Mahmoud, and later mentions that Mahmoud knew 19 guys who died on 9/11. MacFarlane's big on the 9/11 jokes.
Yeah, you know, if a teddy bear makes a joke about something taboo, like, I don't know, 9/11, it's still not okay. It's still not okay, but it maybe goes down a little bit easier because he's got cute fuzzy fur.
At 15 minutes and 30 seconds into the episode, Peter is seen sitting in a bar attempting to make a call to Mahmoud using a cell phone that Mahmoud has given him. He dials the number once and puts the phone to his ear at 15 minutes and 41 seconds. A bomb goes off outside a short distance away. Peter says something about the phone being busted, then dials again, which triggers another bomb outside, this one louder and closer, accompanied by screams.
Look, I'm gonna call Mahmoud right now on this cell phone he gave me. He'll tell you. Damn phone's busted. Maybe I dialed wrong. Peter, please stop trying to call Mahmoud.
Exactly like the 2 fake bombs that would go off in Boston about a month later, separated by about 200 yards. At the very end of the episode, 20 minutes and 55 seconds in, Peter uses the same cell phone again and blows up the Quahog Bridge by dialing the same telephone number.
Tell you what, let me call Horace and tell him to get our table ready.
In this same scene, Peter asks his policeman friend whether or not the Muslims that were plotting the foiled attack in the story are going to get a trial.
So what happens next? Do those guys all get trials?
Why ask this question? I mean, a trial for someone accused of a crime is just normal procedure, right? Except normal procedure was not going to be followed about a month later. They knew this, and that's why this part is here. The feds invoked a public safety exception and questioned Dzhokhar Tsarnaev for 36 hours before reading him his Miranda rights. Normal procedure doesn't seem to have been followed for Tamerlan Tsarnaev either. That's why the policeman's answer to Peter is basically no.
Well, you know, it's the process.
See, if you get the American people so riled up about a supposed surprise attack that they don't care about the rights of the accused, on some level you're getting them to acquiesce to the evisceration of basic rights for everyone, including themselves. Keep in mind that the episode aired on March 17, 2013, St. Patrick's Day, with its deep ties to the Irish and therefore Boston. This is not a coincidence. The title again is Turban Cowboy. Turban is for the Muslim terrorists depicted in the episode and the real-life Muslim patsies at the Boston fake bombings. But the cowboy part? Remember the big phony hero from the fake bombings, Carlos Arredondo? He was called the Cowboy Hat Hero because of his white cowboy hat he was wearing as he pushed a man he pretended to rescue past the cameras for their staged photo op. Even the hat's been proven to have been just a prop that was switched during the picture-taking session at the beginning of the fakery. See, they not only foreshadow the event, but they also like to allude to their manufactured official story afterwards. Here they do it in the very name of the episode. There's another Seth MacFarlane cartoon named American Dad, and on the episode entitled The Missing Kink, which aired the night before the fake bombings, a teenage girl tells the boy she's just gone out with that she had a blast on their date. The boy's reply blatantly indicates further foreknowledge of the false flag planned for the next day.
I had a blast.
Well, call the bomb squad, because with the blast I had, that makes 2 blasts.
Now that there's no doubt that Toady Boy McFarlane was fed information about the Boston Marathon false flag ahead of time and told to incorporate elements of the story into his idiotic cartoons, let's move on to a more recent incident that he foreshadowed, where someone may have actually died. Robin Williams' supposed suicide on August 11, 2014. Immediately preceding the announcement of Robin Williams' death, the BBC Three network just happened to play a repeat of a May 2012 Family Guy episode entitled Viewer Mail No. 2. The show began at 11:25 p.m. London time. The news of the actor's apparent suicide broke at around 11:50 p.m., 25 minutes later. So take a 21-minute show, throw in some commercials, and the completion of the show and the suicide announcement happened at pretty much the exact same time. The episode is broken down into 3 parts. The first part, entitled Chap of the Manor, portrays everyone in the Griffin family except Stewie as British, and says it's brought to you by BBC One, just in case you think it's a fluke that it's shown on BBC Three right before Mr. Williams' death hits the airwaves. At a minute and a half in, the family is watching a game show called Wheel of Politeness. For some reason, the Family Guy animators have elected to give only 2 of the visible spaces on the wheel the correct number of prongs, like the actual wheel from the American game show Wheel of Fortune. The 2 spaces that don't have excess prongs are 300 and 600. So here's a nice backwards 63, which is Mr. Williams' age at the time of his death. The number of prongs is their sneaky way of pointing it out. In the 1998 movie What Dreams May Come, when Robin Williams' character dies and goes to heaven, his spirit guide says this to him.
Last time you saw me, I was 63, stretched out on a cardiac ward. Who wants to be 63 throughout eternity?
Yeah, who wants to be 63 throughout eternity? A little later in the same movie, his character's wife commits suicide. The climax of the Family Guy segment is a death that takes place in a tunnel. You'll never guess where Mr. Williams' character is when he dies in the movie What Dreams May Come. A tunnel. This is one of many examples of the Cabal connecting their clues in different places. Like not only showing Lisa Simpson holding up this bus schedule to signify 9/11, but also having Bart Simpson hold up cash in front of it to tell you that 9/11 is laid out step by step in perfect detail on the U.S. money supply. At the very end of the Chap of the Manor segment, Lois says that she's just glad that everyone's safe and sound in their little row house. Peter looks at the camera and repeats row house, the same way he says roadhouse over and over again in another Family Guy episode entitled Brian's Got a Brand New Bag.
Well, I'm just happy our family is safe and sound back in our cozy row house.
Row house. Keep the change. Roadhouse.
This show starts with Peter Griffin in a video store buying the Patrick Swayze movie Roadhouse. The video store clerk attempts to give him a free copy of What Dreams May Come, which we just talked about, but he flatly refuses it. The movie is placed on a shelf with other unwanted Williams films. A few minutes later, Peter says, "Get off my plane," as he starts to attack the family dog in a fit of Roadhouse kicking imitation.
Get off my plane. It's not even the same. Oh, what the hell?
This Brian's Got a Brand New Bag episode that shows the movie What Dreams May Come aired on November 8th, 2009. 11/8 is the date of Williams' death backwards. In the second segment, called Fat Man and Robin, hundreds of Robin Williams clones are shown, and Robin Williams, in various incarnations, stops Peter Griffin from committing suicide 3 different times. So it's very much about Mr. Williams. This segment begins with a roast of Mr. Williams, especially sickening because Mr. Williams would be cremated immediately after his death. Try as I might, I couldn't find one video on YouTube of a roast with flames on and around the initials of the person being joked about. The story goes that Peter wishes that everyone was Robin Williams. He's given the power to change everyone into Williams, and soon he's done this to pretty much everyone in town, including almost every member of his family. When Peter changes the local news anchor into Robin Williams, both of Williams' hands can be seen making the OK/666 sign, even though he only has 4 fingers, so it doesn't really... Oh, okay, that's better. A world filled with Robin Williamses loses its charm quickly. Peter can't stand the incessant and at times repetitive Robin Williams humor, and, seeing no way out, starts to try various methods of offing himself, but Robin Williams saves him every time. First, Peter tries to shoot himself in the head, but the gun turns into Williams because Peter has touched it. Peter then tries to throw himself in front of a moving car, which also turns into Williams, and Peter bounces right off. Peter then throws himself off a cliff, but the rock at the bottom turns into Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire and cushions his fall. Peter then decides to tell all of the other Williams clones to go forth into the country and spread their comedy, but he orders 5 of them to stay as substitutes for his family. The final scene shows Peter and the 5 family replacement clones sitting at the kitchen table having breakfast. The Williams clones are dressed up like the various family members and are joking amongst themselves. Peter looks like he's lost his mind. Then they zoom in a bit, and the Robin Williams clone replacement for Brian the dog asks Peter to pass the coffee. Peter has cut off his hands in an effort to stop the curse of turning everything into Robin Williams, so we see only bloody stumps as he brings his hands up to the table. Do you see the problem with this scene? Robin Williams is supposed to have died, sitting in a chair, with something tight around his neck, and he also supposedly tried slitting his wrist. Here's an extreme Family Guy-style representation of this. There are only 2 inanimate objects that Peter turns into Williams that aren't directly related to stopping Peter's suicide attempts. One is a teapot, the other is a door. According to the official story, Williams closed one end of the belt he used to kill himself between a door and a door frame. In the third and last segment of the cartoon called Point of Stew, a day of the baby's life is shown from his point of view. At the very beginning, we get a quick glimpse of the number 13 that goes by almost too fast to see. Then at bath time, Stewie plays with a shark in the tub. The town of Tiburon is where Robin Williams died, and Tiburon means shark in Spanish. Close to the end, Stewie goes back in time and prevents Kurt Cobain from committing suicide. So this is 4 times that suicide is mentioned in one way or another during a 21-minute-long Family Guy cartoon that heavily features Robin Williams, shown on the date of his death and ending almost exactly when news of Mr. Williams' death hit the airwaves. This is also the 20th anniversary of Cobain's very suspicious suicide, with his band being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year and new evidence from the death scene being released. Then Stewie's mom reads him a bedtime story called Goodnight Town from Footloose. How random, right? Except for the fact that the main character in Footloose is from Chicago, just like the person whose death via faked suicide is foreshadowed in this cartoon. So to recap, McFarlane foreshadowed the hell out of the Boston mess. 29 days before, his cartoon referenced terrorists from Russia, a conversion to Islam, a library which is where the first fake bomb went off, the M&Ms in the victim injury scenery, dead bodies, body parts, and blood on the streets at the Boston Marathon, 2 bombs detonated a few seconds apart by cell phone, a reference to normal procedure not being followed after the arrest of Muslims, allusion to both the Muslims and the fake cowboy hat hero right in the name of the episode, and the night before on a different cartoon by Seth MacFarlane, a reference to 2 blasts and the bomb squad. And don't forget the horse whisperer mentioned at the very beginning, a movie in which the main character has had to have her leg amputated. As for foreshadowing Robin Williams' death, we see a backwards 63, Williams' age at the time of death pointed out, an allusion to death in a tunnel, like Williams' character in another movie about death and suicide, which also foreshadows his age at death, Williams preventing suicide 3 different times in the middle segment. Mr. Williams, represented in the final scene of that segment, is sitting in a chair with something tight around his neck, which is how he's supposed to have died. Another person at the same table in this scene with his hands cut off, an extreme way of alluding to slit wrists. One of 2 inanimate objects in the entire cartoon not involved in stopping a suicide, changed into Williams being an item used in the supposed suicide. Covert satanic numerology in the 2 666s and the 13 on the block. Sneaky mentions of the town where Mr. Williams was born and the town where he died. Another suicide prevented in the final segment, which also serves to reference another celebrity who supposedly killed himself while still quite popular and under very sketchy circumstances 20 years ago. And the episode with all of this in it, replayed on the date of Mr. Williams' death, the end of the episode coinciding with the death announcement. All 4 of the episodes referenced here are available in various places online, and you can stream them on Netflix. Every single thing you have seen is only taken from those 4 episodes. If you can see this much foreshadowing and still say it's just coincidence, then you've obviously decided to remain willfully ignorant. Maybe it's too scary for you to believe that McFarlane is only where he is because he's employed by a small group of pasty old ghouls who run everything and put clues about their evil deeds in your favorite TV shows. Maybe the broader implication of facing the fact that this is happening is too much for you. Maybe realizing that the idiot box is not actually there to entertain you and inform you is simply unthinkable. And as for you, McFarlane, let's talk about what's abhorrent. Is it abhorrent for people to find and attempt to point out the work of some New World Order flunky traitor sycophant like you, who works for the group that's behind nearly every disgusting, unfortunate thing happening on this planet today? Or is it abhorrent to do what you do? Sell out your fellow man, helping to foreshadow death and mayhem for your masters, so that they can feel as though they warned us, and that gives them a stay-out-of-jail-free card and license to do whatever they like. In the end, it's not going to have been worth it. So it's not coincidence, it's not synchronicity of the damn universe, and Mr. Williams did not commit suicide or autoerotic asphyxiate himself. To believe that he killed himself on purpose or otherwise is to ignore all the evidence of foreknowledge you've just seen here, or to somehow convince yourself that Seth MacFarlane is a psychic who can foresee when, where, how, and at what age a man is going to take his own life or lose at a dangerous sexual game played in private. It's very simple. There's a small group of very disgusting individuals who literally run this planet. They control pretty much everything, and they certainly control the media and the entertainment industry. That's who McFarlane serves, and that's why this clown is a billionaire. If you don't understand why they do these things, look up predictive programming and educate yourself on the subject. It's not that they necessarily want us to know, they just want to be able to say they told us. Seth MacFarlane also helped his satanic masters foreshadow the September 11th attacks. Please visit and subscribe to the Betsy McGee channel on YouTube for this upcoming video and others. And if you still believe that cowboy hat-wearing Carlos Arredondo was some kind of hero at the Boston Marathon, please watch the Boston Marathon Maranathon.